Okay, you're good.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to tonight's team call. Super exciting always to be here with everybody. I am going to get to share all of our announcements tonight and introduce our rock star speaker for the evening. So first up with announcements, just a reminder that the Beachbody On Demand membership changes started on June 1st. So if you have anybody or if you're using it for free groups and doing the free trial, it's now 14 days. And if you have anybody with a current BOD subscription, it's now all access. So that's pretty freaking awesome. Shanti Week starts June 12th. And when I was looking at kind of my calendars on planning out social, one thing I just wanted to add about that, if you're not planning on doing Shanti Week, you're missing out. And it reminded me of this thing that we heard at Summit last summer about, they talked about it, that there's so much power in your first 7 days, and to chronicle the good, the bad, the ugly, and show people how to like really get it done. And I think whenever Beachbody puts out something like this, we have a really unique opportunity there. So if you're kind of on the fence about whether or not you're going to try Shanti Week, even if you're in the middle of a different program, go for it and just completely share like what's awesome and what's hard and all of that good stuff, because it's a really authentic look into what we do, right? What these workouts are all about. Shift shop. It's really hard to say fast. Shift shop. Preview is June 19th. So if you haven't seen anything about Chris Downing yet, oh my gosh, like just go YouTube him tonight so that you can start getting excited. We got to work out with him in Punta Cana, and like not only did I have like chills from head to toe every time because he's so freaking inspiring, like I was in tears one day, legit, and I was like, it's really something. So do not miss the preview on June 19th. Don't miss it. It's going to be so good. And share with everybody what that's all about. The program and the markers are available. And the markers are like these little like colored markers, right? That shows you where you need to be in the workout. That is all available on July 12th. And I know that I'm going to start gearing up now for the preview on June 19th. And then, really just start putting everybody who's interested in that in like a preview type of thing up into that point, so that you can kind of like make sure they're ready to go on July 12th. Let's see. Monday, there is a coach opportunity webinar live event. So whether you're presenting on it or not, invite your coaches so they can get to know our team. It's going to be awesome. It's always awesome. And it's a really cool way for people to hear a story that's not yours. They're probably used to hearing your story. So this will give them access to everybody else's story. Summit reminders for those of you who are going to be in NOLA. Don't forget to pay for your tanks. They're so cute. Your tank tops and your dinner by July 1st so that you don't miss out on that. If you haven't registered for the Ghost Tour, I'm going to need a few more people to hold my hand through that. So make sure you register for the Ghost Tour. And last but not least, and this laundry list of announcements, there is going to be a Summit Coach Push group, Surge for Summit. And that's basically for any coaches who really just want to like kick some ass like in the 4 weeks leading into Summit. So if you are feeling like, it's a little bit stagnant, or you need to really just have that extra accountability to push through, it's going to be a 4-week group, and it starts on June 12th. And there will be more information to come on that. I think that is all of the reminders. I can send this out. I have it all typed up so I can share that with you all as a recap as well. But next, and probably the most exciting, even though these announcements are cool, Aryn Hicks is cooler. And I'm so excited. This is such a treat to get to introduce her. And I first met Aryn at Rose's house in New Jersey this past December, which really seems like forever ago and like 5 seconds ago at the same time. So Aryn is awesome. She's just a light, and she can keep a straight face, and you're like, She's funny. She's just really funny. If you haven't met her, I'm excited for you to meet her at some point. She is a coach she started in August of 2016, but started working the business in December of 2016. As she describes herself, she's an avid nerd and lover of all things geek, which I find incredibly endearing. She works full-time as a health safety and environmental coordinator for a chemical manufacturer. I really don't know that any of us do anything as exciting as that, right, Aryn? And she also, just because why wouldn't you, if you are working for a chemical manufacturer, be also a belly dancer, an improv comedian, a professional karaoke and shower singer, and I'm going to guess she gives some pretty awesome car concerts as well in her spare time, and she's planning a wedding because she's newly engaged. So Aryn is going to share her story with us, and I'm going to turn it over to you, girl.
Thanks, Amanda. Hey, everyone. So tonight I am actually going to share a different side of my story. A few people know this, but it's something that kind of gets overlooked at times. I'm a Beachbody coach, but I started out as a Beachbody customer, and I'm a little unorthodox because I started Beachbody after having weight loss surgery. Back in 2015, in November the 16th, 2015, you never forget your surgiversary. I actually had gastric bypass surgery. Going back a little bit further, my pre-surgery weight was 285.4 pounds. My heaviest weight was in the 300s. I stopped weighing myself around 320 and was just like, gotta lose weight, gotta do something. But I was never able to keep it off. I had tried everything from prescriptions to, the low calorie diets to, pills and products that say that they work, but they really don't. I had tried everything. And I got to a point where I was 25 years old. I wasn't comfortable, and I had the determining factors. I had the genetics to get high blood pressure, to have diabetes, sleep apnea, all of it. I was blessed enough to not have it, but I knew it was inevitable if I didn't do something. So I actually had tried, working with my doctor on a diet plan, and it worked for a bit, but my body continued to try to bounce back to the higher weight. One thing about reaching high weights, such as the 300s and even some of the high 200s, is you can lose a certain amount of weight and your body will try to bounce back to those higher weights, which is what mine did. So one day I got up the strength and the courage to ask my doctor, do you think I'd be a candidate for weight loss surgery? And she said, yes. And it's not something that I just, jumped right into and was ready to go. No, it was something that I researched for months and months and months and had thought about it for well over a year before actually asking her and committing to it. A lot goes into weight loss surgery. It's not just, you go to your doctor, say, hey, I want this done, and, you schedule a surgery date. You have to go through classes to understand, the different forms of weight loss surgery, because there are multiple types of it. There are two more common forms of it now. The Roux-en-Y or RNY gastric bypass, or the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, also known as VSG, or the gastric sleeve. It depends on what your body is best suited for the surgery. So you have to go through these classes to understand. You have to go through a psychological evaluation before you can have the surgery done to determine if you are mentally capable of being successful after the surgery. Because again, this isn't something where, you get the surgery and it solves all of your problems. One of the biggest things and one of my biggest pet peeves is people saying, weight loss surgery is the easy way out. It's far from it. But you have to go through a psychological evaluation and meet with a psychologist to determine, what are ways to keep you successful. Your body is going to change, and it's going to change quickly. So how can you sustain that, and how do you overcome this? If you have depression beforehand, depression doesn't automatically go away. Same thing with anxiety. So it's ways to cope with it versus coping with food or coping with, alcohol, things like that. You also have to work with a nutritionist who's going to talk to you about the proper nutrition before and after. How many of you guys have done the 3-day refresh? Good number. How many of you have done the ultimate reset? One of the big things with those is you guys get to eat. Prior to the diet, you're on a 10-day, or prior to the surgery, you're on a 10-day liquid diet. Nothing but protein drinks. And for this, it's 10 days of protein drinks. You're getting about 100 grams of protein per day. Your single drink cannot contain more than 5 grams of carbohydrates, more than, typically they say 5 grams of fat. The reason for this is because they're trying to shrink your liver before you go into surgery. Liver is a pretty big mass and it covers part of the stomach. And a lot of individuals who are obese or morbidly obese, they have fat around their liver. It's early stages of cirrhosis, sorry, got my things mixed up. But they try to shrink your liver so that you have a lower chance of complications and so that your liver doesn't obstruct the stomach while you're doing the laparoscopic portion. Laparoscopic meaning that they're using more of the more like needles, thick needles, surgical probes, because they can either do an open gastric bypass or gastric surgery, which means that they're opening the abdomen and you have a long scar, or you can do it laparoscopic where you have 5 small scars which are about the size of, a dime, or the length of a dime. So 10 days of nothing but liquids. If you have ever been in the South, there is a restaurant called Bojangles. They serve biscuits. It is basically heaven on a biscuit. On day 4 of my liquid diet, I was at work during this time, so 10 days of nothing but liquid and no caffeine whatsoever. Day 4 of this liquid diet, one of my coworkers thought it'd be a good idea to put a box of Bojangles biscuits in the cubicle next to mine. I did not cry. I did not commit murder. I thought about it, but I did not. It was a test of will. The only thing that kept me going through that time was having a support system, having my parents and my friends who knew that I was having this surgery, as well as knowing that if I cheated on this diet, my surgery could be underway and they could stop it right then and there and I'd have to start all over again. Because if your liver is not down to where it needs to be, they will either go from laparoscopic to an open surgery, or they'll stop it altogether. And when you come out of anesthesia, they'll explain to you why you cannot have the surgery until you are complete. And you're in the hospital for that entire time so that they can monitor you. I wasn't about that. I wasn't going to give up on myself. I knew that I wanted this. I made the decision to do it. So I committed and followed through. So November 16th, had my surgery, all went well. They have you up and walking same day. You feel like straight, pure, hot garbage. But you're going to be up and walking, hair askew, nice little compression socks on so that you can not develop blood clots in your legs, because you're going to be laying down for a good bit of time still. And you're released after about 2 days. The time following that, who has their containers with them? Anyone have their containers? Pick up your orange container. For your first week, including the days after surgery, this is about the contents of what your stomach can hold. And it's got to be in protein. So you're talking things like vegetable broth. You can have protein drinks because liquids go down much easier and you're able to hold a little bit more. It doesn't stay in your stomach as long. This right here, some see it as a baby spoon. Babies may see this as an airplane or a choo-choo train, depending. This is what I was eating from for the first 2 weeks. Yes, I had my own set of baby spoons. But when you're eating things such as sugar-free pudding to put something into your stomach to give you that full feeling, or God forbid, sugar-free Jell-O, You will learn that I have an extreme aversion to anything in the consistency of pudding or jello because of the surgery. Don't want to see it, don't want to smell it, don't want to think about it. But this, about 2 or 3, maybe 4 spoonfuls is what your stomach will hold and will keep you full for several hours following the surgery. And at the time, you're still trying to drink about 60 ounces of fluids. And your fluids could come from water. They try to get you to get it in the form of your protein drinks and sugar-free popsicles. Another on those list of things that Aryn will not touch with a 10-foot pole. Just because you're on it for so long. Now, after 2 weeks, you can switch over to soft solids, things like cottage cheese and yogurt. Some of the big dietary restrictions. Sugar, having refined and processed sugars, can't have them. The reason being is if you're having something such as gastric bypass, I'm actually going to share my screen to show you guys this. Let's see. Can you guys see my screen? Yes? Okay. So the 2 forms of gastric or bariatric surgery or weight loss surgery. You have the VSG and the RNY. With VSG, they actually remove an entire portion of your stomach. So your stomach looks like an actual sleeve. With RNY, which is what I have, is known as the gastric bypass. They actually take a small portion of your stomach and connect your intestines, your small intestines, up and bring it down. They keep the large portion of your stomach to allow for gastric juices to come through. And the bypass portion of the stomach actually produces the juices and goes out. You have fewer issues of this and slightly fewer restrictions with the VSG, with the gastric sleeve, than you do RNY. Because with RNY, you have a malabsorption. And with malabsorption, it's bypassing part of your small intestine, so you're not absorbing certain minerals, you're not absorbing as much fat or as many calories. But with both of them, especially early on, you have to limit the amounts of sugar that you have, and you have to limit the amounts of fat that you have, or else you're gonna experience what they call dumping syndrome. Dumping syndrome is also known as hell on earth. For the sheer fact of you eat something and you're going to start to feel very sick within 15 minutes. And it's not just, oh gosh, I got to run to the bathroom. It's your stomach is going to start cramping. Some people may start feeling lightheaded. They may start feeling dizzy. It's just a general bad feeling. You might feel extremely full. So diets are very restrictive when it comes to the RNY or the bypass. The vertical sleeve, you have a little bit more leeway when it comes to sugar and fat because you don't have that malabsorption issue. So again, for about 2 weeks, this is what your stomach can hold in terms of food. About 3 to 4 weeks, you're looking at the blue container. You're holding about a quarter cup of food in your stomach at a time. You're able to be up and more active, and you have a little bit more energy. One thing that I had to deal with is when I had the surgery, my date to actually start eating solid foods was Thanksgiving. I was super excited because I can eat like a sliver of turkey. I'm so excited. It didn't happen that way for me. I had a complication where the joint, where you can see where the intestines re-meet, mine closed. So I wasn't getting any liquids down. I wasn't getting any solids down. And I spent every other day in an infusion center getting liquid nutrients just so that I'd have the energy to come back 2 days later. I had to have a revision to actually remove part of my intestine and reconnect it in December the 7th. And I had to start all over again. So back to this. Um, it's a long recovery process, but if you don't have the complications and you're able to move along, things go smoothly. By month 2 or 3, your stomach is able to hold about this much, about a half a cup of food. And you're able to move on to more solid foods such as soft-boiled eggs, even scrambled eggs. By the end of 1 month, you're able to eat your soft solids, so meat that have moisture in them, like chicken thighs, chicken breasts that aren't overcooked. You're almost back to a regular diet. You're still watching your fat content, so your cheeses and your milks need to be at 2%, low fat or fat free. I'm going on 2 years out. Want to take a guess at what my stomach can hold right about now? Bingo. By the end of it, if you are fully recovered, your stomach should be able to hold approximately 1 cup of food. So right about now, I can hold a cup of food. If I chew things really small, or depending on what I eat, I might and really shouldn't be able to eat anything more than this. Red container, definitely close. So, I was about 9 months out when I got reintroduced to Beachbody. I'd been introduced to it through a few programs, but I couldn't stick to the nutrition. It was difficult for me, so I was just like, whatever, it's just a workout. After the surgery, one of the big things is you have to work out. Yes, you can change your eating. Your eating is going to change it. You really have no choice with that. You need to change it if you want to be successful, but you also need to work out so that you can maintain muscle mass, because you're going to be losing a lot of weight and you're going to lose it quickly. If you don't have that muscle, you're going to start to feel sick and you're going to start to look sick. So I started going to the gym. I was what you would call a cardio bunny. I stayed on the elliptical. I stayed on the daggum treadmill for hours at a time, trying to, burn these calories and stay active. I slowly started to reintroduce weights, but it was boring, and I hated going to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. It was miserable. I was tired when I got home from work, and it wasn't doing anything, but I was losing weight, but I wasn't building the kind of muscle that I wanted. So I started seeing on Facebook individuals, no names, called Haley, posting about their workouts and, seeing like they were getting all buff. And I was like, man, I want to get buff. Like, I want to look like this. I'm doing good with what I'm doing, but I want to do better. So, I asked Haley and she said, oh, I do Beachbody. And I'm like, okay, I've heard of Beachbody. I'm good. She's like, well, have you heard of Shakeology? And I was like, I've heard of it, I've used it, but I don't know if I can right now. I'll get back to you on that. Which typically for most coaches sends up the red flag of this person is not interested. I have no interest. For me at the time, Haley didn't know that I had this surgery. And it wasn't that I wasn't interested, but if you encounter someone who has gastric bypass surgery, I mentioned the dumping syndrome and I mentioned having to reduce sugars. This includes sugars coming from fruit. And at the time, 9 months out, I couldn't handle it. I could barely handle a half of a shake of Shakeology, because the sugar count in it from the natural sugars was still too high for my body to process. And with that, I wasn't sure, and I needed to check with my nutritionist. If you have someone who has had this surgery, encourage them to talk to their nutritionist. Have them, send them the link to the label, or if it's possible, send them a sample, and they can take it to their nutritionist, and their nutritionist can actually see, these are the ingredients. They're not coming from your refined or processed sugars. They're coming from natural sources. Another thing with that diet, as you guys have heard, you have to focus on protein. You're eating a lot of protein. You're not eating as many vegetables, meaning not a lot of fiber. So you can imagine what that does to the digestive system. It wreaks havoc. It can and it will. You're eating a lot of, you're eating a lot of the protein. A lot of people are eating a lot of dairy to get in additional protein. a lot of yogurts, cottage cheeses because they're soft. We're not getting a lot of fiber from things like bread, even like whole wheat bread. Reason being, that bread can actually gum up in your stomach, cause you to get full, and block it from passing through your intestines. And if you've ever had a blockage, it is unpleasant, extremely unpleasant. This is the reason that I tend not to eat bread. I'll eat toast or crackers, but anything that's soft, and if it can gum up, you try to avoid that, and you're encouraged to avoid it. Even things like sticky rice. Quinoa, not so bad, but oatmeal is guilty of it every time. I haven't had oatmeal in probably a little over a year because of one time, and I was like, no. And I know a lot of people who have had this surgery who are the same way. But I asked my doctor, and she said, give it another 3 months, and we'll see where your sugar intake is from there, and we can go. So, another month passed. Haley, hey girl, haven't heard from you. I was like, hey, I'm looking at this workout maybe, but I'm still not sure about Shakeology. She didn't give up on me. And for that, I am appreciative. Because it wasn't a matter of I'm going to blow you off for months and months and months at a time. It was a matter of I have to make sure the time is right, because otherwise I can get sick and I will be done with everything. But I got to my 1 year mark, tried Shakeology, started with a half shake. I was able to handle it a little bit better, started doing size, and I signed up as a discount coach at the time. Started doing size, fell in love, and then, all these other programs are coming out. It's like, hey, this is pretty good. With weight loss surgery patients, the 1 year mark is usually the mark where you're celebrating. Because if you've been doing what you're supposed to, if you've been eating properly, following the diets and the meal plans, and you've been working out, you're going to lose between 50 to 80% of your excess body fat. I started doing size in August and started doing Shakeology on the half portions, little less than half portions. It was doing it maybe once a week. And by my 1 year mark, I had lost 82% of my excess body fat. I went from 284 pounds to 174, 175 pounds for my 1 year mark. It was a big change. It was a lot of changes at once. But, even with some of the complications that I had, people asked me, was it worth it? It was worth it. I wouldn't change a thing about the surgery. I had complications. I was in and out of the hospital, in and out of the infusion center. Individuals who go through gastric bypass, it is not an easy way out. You have to have the discipline to say, I'm going to commit to this, because if you don't commit to it, you're not going to succeed. The individuals who are succeeding and reach that 1 year mark and reach the 2 year surgery, 3 year, 4 year, they may experience a little bit of regain, but if they're following these processes, they're doing what they're supposed to. So that's really a big thing. I actually started using, even though I know that my stomach can only hold this, I started using the portion control plan for the sheer fact of it helped me to balance out a little bit. Because for so long, for an entire year, I wasn't eating my carbs. I was cranky. I was really cranky. I didn't have the energy that I needed from sustainable carbs. All of my energy was coming from fats and protein. And after a point, I actually started burning too much fat, started burning into my protein, and meaning I was starting to lose muscle, which is no bueno. Because again, I wanted to be cool, wanted to be buff, have my cool Flex Friday pictures, but I was losing muscle, which caused more loose skin to occur. I actually had to start gaining weight back. How many of you guys own a scale? The scale, a lot of times we are told the scale is not our friend. For this surgery, a lot of times we get fixated on the scale. Weight loss surgery patients are focused on, we need to hit this number, or we want to hit this number. I want to get back down to this weight. The other damaging number that came into play was BMI, body mass index. That number, I swear on everything, I think that number was created by a mean, hateful individual who dwells in the realm below, because that number is a lie. Even at 165 pounds, I was considered in the overweight BMI for my height, and I'm 5'8". So getting with Beachbody actually forced me to say, hey, forget the numbers. I have to be healthy. And even when talking to my doctor and my nutritionist, she said, follow your eating plan, like follow the portion control plan to your modifications for this surgery, because your BMI is not going to be a fair indication. They flat out told me if I got anywhere below 155, then I needed to start putting weight back on. When I hit 152, people constantly ask me if I was sick, because I look sick. My face, started sinking in. My arms were way too small for my body and for my frame. And I felt horrible. I actually felt hungry. I was grumpy, cranky. And there's a fine balance. The weight loss surgery community, we're under attack constantly. You'll see it on Instagram. You'll see it on Facebook. Constantly criticized because we took the easy way out, and our weight loss doesn't count because it was done in a surgery. We're losing weight in a healthy way maintained by our doctors. We're following what we're supposed to and what we're told to. What more can we do? So, following the meal plan, modify it. With my nutritionist, I eat approximately, for one meal, this is my protein. My yellows don't represent my carbs. My yellows actually represent my protein, because half a cup is approximately 4 ounces. I eat 4 ounces of protein, about still a quarter cup of healthy fats, and my carbs, lower. They're not quite into the orange, but for me, I have to make sure that I get my protein in, because low protein is the end all for things. I've ended up in the hospital for having too low of blood protein levels. So you have to make sure that for weight loss surgery patients, they're getting enough protein. They're not going to be able to eat a full container of this, or else they're not going to be able to get in things like vegetables, healthy fats. So in one of the general rules that we have is 3-2-1. If you look at a plate, let's say that, you spread this food out across a plate. You take 3 bites of protein, 2 bites of a vegetable, 1 bite of a carb. It may not seem like much, but we have to listen to our bodies. And if our body gets full off of, 6 bites of protein and, 4 bites of vegetables and 1 bite of a carb, so be it. Because if we eat anything past that, we're going to start to feel sick. For some weight loss patients, including myself, it can feel daunting looking at all these containers like, I have to eat all of this in one day. What? You might freak out a little bit. But it's important that as a coach, if you do have someone who has one of the weight loss surgeries, that you encourage them to not worry about eating everything. They're not going to be able to eat everything. They're not going to be able to eat all of their fruits in a day, all of their vegetables, all of their fats, they have to modify it to them, and they have to eat only what they're comfortable eating. Because if you don't, then you have the chance of weight gain, and then you're going to have someone who says, well, this made me gain weight, and, I don't believe this, and, they're, out sailing in the wind. It's important to understand that you can modify these to what your dietary needs are. But basically, that's all I have in terms of it. Any questions? I've gotten a few questions here and there about, different weight loss surgeries. things that have helped. But I'm here to answer anything. Let's see. Do you drink a full serving of Shakeology now? Yes. I can actually drink a full serving of Shakeology now. I can add fruit to it. I have to be careful though, because I have to make sure that my fruits are lower in sugars, and I do balance it out sometimes during the week. So I might have, on Monday a shake with fruit, and then Tuesday a shake with no fruit and just like extracts, or even like coconut, shredded unsweetened coconut. But with my shakes, I only use unsweetened, unsweetened almond milk. It might be vanilla almond milk, but I only use unsweetened because I try to keep the sugar count as low as possible. Vegan, yes, and that is just a personal preference of mine. I am completely addicted to the vegan cafe latte now. I mixed it with a full banana and some peanut butter, and it tastes like the Nutter Butter cookies. So I haven't had a Nutter Butter cookie in a long time, but that's what it tastes like, and it is amazing. I am also notorious for making anything healthified. So I am notorious for the Girl Scout cookie Shakeologies, birthday cake Shakeology. I had tiramisu Shakeology this morning. It's like I can have a little bit of that without like having the sugar and the guilt and the pain and the curling in the fetal position later on. Any other questions?
So, Aryn, if we have somebody that has had gastric bypass or gastric sleeve, what would be the best way to approach them? Because I have someone that had it done, and like she doesn't want anything to do with it.
The best way to approach it would be, one, you're not selling. If you ever, I wish I could give you guys access to my my Instagram. Products are constantly being pushed on somebody who says that they're a weight loss surgery patient. If they see the letters RNY, WLS, or VSG, you've got people trying to sell them pills, wraps, all sorts of things. Do not sell under any circumstances, because a lot of, especially like the Insta famous folks, will say no sales whatsoever. They will delete you and they will put you on blast in the weight loss surgery forums. Trust me, I've seen it a lot. The best thing to do is, again, to share. You guys are sharing. It's fantastic. Start out versus selling or trying to share Shakeology. You might be more successful sharing the workout programs themselves. Because again, a lot of weight loss surgery patients, even some who might be 2 years out, may not be able to tolerate Shakeology, but who can't tolerate a low impact workout? Basically anyone. You want to ask them questions about, how they feel, how they like their current workout situation. Do they like going to the gym? Do they like only doing cardio? Do they want to change or have any changes? Yes, Haley, start asking them questions about nutrition and energy. Because sometimes the diet, you don't have a whole lot of energy. And if you can, talk to them about nutrition and, the one thing that I have been able to help people with, the cookbook. Because a lot of times when it comes to weight loss surgery, our foods are bland. I've got weight loss surgery cookbook. It was great for the time being. There are some recipes I still use in there, but a lot of times the nutrition is considered boring because, especially starting out, you are told to eat one food at a time because you have to learn how to tolerate certain foods and re-tolerate foods. If they are having issues with nutrition and energy, talk to them about the cookbook. If they're saying, oh, this is so boring and I hate not being able to eat carbs, but all carb, bread is just terrible. Hey, one of my favorite recipes in here is the quinoa black bean salad. It helps to keep me sustained. It's great in terms of having additional protein from the quinoa, and it's full of flavor from vegetables. So it's much more balanced than, some of the other foods where it's just blanched green beans, sauteed broccoli, steamed cauliflower. Approach it from either the nutrition or the fitness side, but starting off, kind of avoid the Shakeology side.
Aryn, did your bariatric doctor tell you to drink the, let me see what they're called, the protein plus drinks that you can get at Walmart?
For the surgery, you are allowed to pick from a designated list. I've heard of the Protein Plus. The one that I used was Isopure. You've got Premier Protein, Protein Plus, Slim Fast, Atkins, all sorts. You're told that you can drink these certain ones, and it's because of the low sugar and the low carbohydrate content.
Mm-hmm. That's what one of the girls I was talking to about Shakeology said. She was drinking that one because it had high protein, low carb. And so that's why I recommended, like you had said, sending her the nutrition facts for the vegan one and having her ask her doctor about the ingredients.
Yeah. And in comparison, one of my Isopure shakes had 50 grams of protein.
Did you notice when you did start drinking the Shakeology, though, that your energy increased compared to the other proteins that you were drinking?
Oh, yes.
So that could be something that you could potentially bring up to them?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, they really should talk to their nutritionist about that because, again, dumping syndrome can happen at any stage. I had it walking through Crabtree Mall because I ate something that had too high a sugar. And with dumping syndrome, it causes your intestines to basically clear out too quickly and causes the water to clear out too quickly, causes low blood sugar. So imagine a diabetic low blood sugar attack about an hour after you eat. And for some people, that can happen with Shakeology. But again, it depends on the person. Encourage them to talk to their nutritionist. No.
Right, so now I have a question.
Okay.
How can your body can't absorb 50 grams of protein at once?
No, it can't.
So I'm just trying to look at it from my scientific nutrition standpoint. And even doctors saying to drink Slim Fast still blows my freaking mind.
Yep. They tell you Slim Fast, the high protein or the low sugar, the Atkins, and that was one of the biggest things trying to switch over from was I was so used to drinking things that were so chock full of chemicals and, artificial sweeteners and, just stuff that in general really wasn't all that great for me. It served its purpose. And again, 50 grams of protein wasn't absorbed, nowhere near. Maybe 20, 25 of it was absorbed at any one time. But it was what we were told, but a lot of the other stuff had too much carbohydrates.
And I agree that clean eating part is totally fascinating that they would recommend to fill your body with that.
Yeah.
Let that fuel you. When you started working out, did you have to readjust your meal plan so that you like you were saying, you were burning too much? Mm-hmm. So how did you kind of readjust? Did you go back and talk to your nutritionist to adjust to the meal plan and for the workout? And then as you've tried different workouts, have you had to readjust again? Or can you just eat if you're eat a little extra if you're hungry?
Starting out, it wasn't as much adjusting because you start eating more as the time progresses. So, 1 week out, I wasn't running my 3 miles. I was walking at a very slow pace for a mile on the treadmill. And what I was eating was working just fine because that was how my body was readjusting and processing to having a much smaller stomach. I was losing the weight like I was supposed to, and I didn't feel sick. It was only after I had gotten sick, sinus infection, wasn't eating like I was supposed to, and then everything just bottomed out, that I had to readjust. But now, and even like 6 months out, as I started increasing the intensity of my workouts, I started eating and adjusting my meal plans more. Less supplementing with the liquid shakes to more eating of solid proteins and more vegetables. Even now, I'm actually up to, just now, if you count calories, I am still on average in the 1,200 range. 1,400 is a pretty high day for me, but on just a normal to low day, I'm still 1,200 calories. If I tend to do a workout, like if I go to the trails and run, or if I do one of the second or third weeks of, say, core de force, my eating ups. I add more than just one of the blue containers. I'm probably adding 3 or 4 servings of a healthy fat, or an extra serving of vegetables. But if I do adjust, I try to avoid adding extra fruits. I'll add more vegetables, or I'll add more fats.
And my last question, I promise. How do you feel that Beachbody and Shakeology and the workouts helped you instead of doing something else?
It helped me because it honestly gave me a little bit more of a community. Again, I had done Beachbody before, but I didn't have the support that I have now. With the nutrition plans and with the Fixate programs, the Portion Fix, it's more balanced. It's something that people can actually visualize. Sure, I could have stayed at the gym and, been on the treadmill, dealt with the gross gym creeps, which is the reason that I left the gym in the first place, dealing with gym creeps. Please don't follow me to my car. No, sir, I'm here to work out and sweat, not to get your number and for you to holla at me. None of that. But I can work out anytime. I have a full-time job. I have a lot of extracurricular activities, long-distance relationships. I don't want to have to waste time going to the gym, waiting for equipment. Things are given to me step by step. And with surgery, it's successful because you're given a plan. You're given things step by step by step. Beachbody has allowed me to follow things step by step by step. I can do stuff that I enjoy. And again, it's given me more of a sense of community. I've been part of the weight loss surgery community. It's a great community, even though, as soon as I became a Beachbody coach, people saw that, I'm selling this stuff, and I went from close to 2,000 followers down to 700 in a span of 2 days. Because they're like, nope, you're a salesperson. You're just here for the sales. Wasn't me. But those weren't the people I was trying to attract. I was trying to attract people who wanted to change and who were, who wanted to better themselves. And I found a way other than surgery, because I knew that, again, at some point after the 1 year mark, regain starts to happen. And I didn't want to regain, up to a point where I was uncomfortable. I wanted to maintain and even build myself to be better. So I found a community that allowed me to do that. And now I can actually help others, whether they're a weight loss surgery patient or, anyone who's just trying to lose weight or even gain weight. Regaining weight after losing weight can be just as hard sometimes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Aryn. If there's any other questions, feel free to post down below. And this was crazy helpful and full of information that I think a lot of us had no idea. Learned an awful lot. So thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Me and Cooper have our pajamas already on because our clothes are soaked.
They are.
It's so wet because we were at the park. Me and Cooper were getting all soaked with water.
I was going to say goodbye, but I just wanted to hear what he had to say. All right. Good night, everyone.